Welcome to Midnight Horror Hour. Tonight, I'll be telling you deep about the places most people just experience but refrain to talk about. Roads, forests, and the highways where the shadows don't just follow you, they watch. So, settle in, turn the lights down, and let's start with our first story for today. I never planned on driving through Utah that night. Not at that hour. And definitely not on a stretch of road with a name like Devil's Bend. It started as one of those rushed out-of-state business trips. Nothing fancy. Just another long haul after another late-running client who promised, "It won't take long." Well, it did. By the time I loaded the last order form into the truck and hit the road, the sky had already sunk into that deep blue-black color that tells you midnight's not far. I'm Eric, mid-30s, single, seller of auto parts and industrial tools across the western states. I've driven through Nevada's nothingness, Wyoming's wind tunnels, and that long, dead stretch in Idaho that feels like God forgot to decorate it. But somehow, Utah that night felt different. Heavy. Maybe it was the way the darkness clung to the road. Maybe it was the cold dryness of the air. Or maybe it was just one of those nights when the world feels slightly tilted. However, the desert around me wasn't the redstone postcard people imagine Utah to be. This part of the state was desolate, a sprawl of flat desert broken by low hills and scrub brush. The kind of landscape that seemed older than anything man ever built. The sky looked huge, endless, sprinkled with stars so bright it felt like they could fall into your hands if you lifted them high enough. But below that sky, the world felt empty, too empty. My headlights cut through the darkness like a pair of tired flashlights. Everywhere else was black, no towns, no lights, not even distant farmhouses. Just me, my car, and a two-lane line of asphalt stretching forward like some kind of cosmic treadmill. The radio whispered softly, some late-night talk host ranting about the economy. I wasn't really listening. I kept it on just for company, for a voice, for anything other than the hum of my engine and the chorus of my own thoughts. I blinked a little too slowly, the way you do when you're convincing yourself you're still good to drive. My eyes felt gritty, dry, and every time I blinked, the road blurred just a little before snapping back into focus. That's when I saw the first sign. A green highway marker flashed in my headlights. Devil's Bend, 5 miles. I snorted a laugh. Nice, real inviting. There are creepy road names, then there are names like that. Names that feel like they were assigned by someone who knew something you didn't. A couple miles later, the second sign appeared, brighter yellow, with bold black letters. Reduce speed, multiple fatalities. My foot lifted off the accelerator instinctively. Okay, message received. 55, 50, 45. The night around me seemed to grow colder, even inside the car. Like the temperature dropped because I crossed some invisible line. Then came another sign, brand new, almost reflective enough to glow. In memory of Troopers Daniel Reed, drive safely. I frowned. Hadn't seen a memorial sign for an officer in years. Those usually mean someone didn't just die, someone mattered, and someone's still grieving. The road began to curve, slowly at first, just a gentle tilt, then a deeper bend. The terrain on my right dropped into a shallow ravine, while the hills on my left rose like dark silhouettes. My grip on the wheel tightened. You're good. Stay awake, eyes open. The radio faded into the background. My heartbeat didn't. The curve sharpened. Then suddenly, the canyon walls lit up with flickering blue and red, the unmistakable pulse of a patrol car's lights bouncing off the rock formations. Relief washed through me so suddenly I almost laughed. A cop out there meant at least someone else was alive in this endless desert. The cruiser was parked at an angle on the shoulder, exactly where the road dipped dangerously. A lone figure, tall, hat brim low, stepped forward and raised a hand, signaling for me to slow down. I rolled my window down a couple inches. Cold air sliced in like a knife. It smelled like dust, sagebrush, and distant winter. The trooper approached, flashlight angled toward my front wheel. His movements were slow, methodical, and weirdly quiet, like the desert muffled everything around us. He tapped the window lightly. I rolled it down the rest of the way. "Evening, officer," I said. He leaned down, and I got my first good look at him. Strong jaw, shaved clean, uniform crisp even in the dust, pale gray eyes that almost looked reflective in the lights. "License and registration," he said. His tone was calm, neither friendly nor harsh, just professional. I scrambled for my wallet. My fingers felt clumsy. He took my documents without looking down. He just watched me. It wasn't threatening exactly, but there was something in his expression, something heavy. "Where you headed tonight, Eric?" he asked. "Green Hollow, motel up ahead." "You from around here?" "No, sir, just passing through." He gave a slow nod, lips pressed tight. "You know where you are?" he asked quietly. "Devil's Bend, right?" His jaw tightened. "Yeah, Devil's Bend." The way he said it, cold, resigned, made my stomach twist. I waited for him to say something else, explain why he stopped me, but instead, he stared up the road like he was watching something crawling through the darkness toward us. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said finally. "Seatbelt's on, speed's fine." Another pause. "I just needed to make sure." "Make sure of what?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he motioned for me to step out. "Turn off the engine. Come see something." My pulse jumped. Am I in trouble? No. Just a simple no. But the tone behind it made arguing impossible. I stepped out into the desert night. The cold hit harder than it should have. It wasn't bitter. It was empty, like the temperature dropped from the inside of your bones. The trooper walked toward the guardrail. "Come here," he said. "I want you to see something." We were standing on a ridge above the ravine. From up close, the drop looked deeper, maybe hundreds of feet, lined with jagged rock formations sculpted by years of wind erosion. Moonlight poured into the canyon, revealing tufts of desert grass, pale stones, and the dark, winding outline of a dried creek bed far below. "That's where the Johnson family went off," he said, pointing. "Winter, black ice, father misjudged the curve." His voice didn't change, but I felt something tighten around my lungs. He pointed again, farther down. "A guy in a pickup, fell asleep, hit the rail there, rolled 3 times. He drew a slow breath. "Didn't make it." Another pause. 3 teenagers, DUI, right over there. And then he stopped. Words caught in his throat. "How many?" I whispered. "Enough," he murmured. "Enough to put the signs up. Enough to send us out here more nights than anywhere else in the county." His eyes looked distant, almost haunted. Then he turned to me fully. "You remind me of the last guy," he said. My skin prickled. "Who?" "The last one I couldn't save." My pulse spiked. "He died here?" The trooper nodded slowly. He stepped closer. "Listen, when you get back in that car, you keep it under 40. Don't look at your phone, don't drift, don't blink longer than you need to. If your eyes get heavy even once, pull off and sleep." His voice wasn't commanding, it was pleading, and that scared me more than anything. "I will," I said. "I swear." "That's what they all say," he murmured. I tried a nervous laugh. "I'll get a coffee at the next town." For the first time, the smallest smile cracked across his face. "Yeah, coffee helps." He handed me my documents. When his fingers brushed mine, I froze. His glove was cold. Not cold like the night air, cold like frozen metal, cold like morgue drawers, cold in a way that made my skin crawl and my heartbeat stutter. "You're freezing," I said. He tilted his head slightly. "You have no idea." He motioned toward my car. "I'll lead you through the rest. Get in." I nodded, climbed in, closed the door. When I checked my mirror, he was gone. The cruiser sat behind me, lights spinning, but no trooper, no footsteps, no shadow, nothing. I eased back onto the road. The cruiser pulled out behind me instantly, like someone inside had been waiting for me. Lights still flashing, headlights steady. He guided me through the tightest curves, steady and precise, never too close, never too far. And I saw them, crosses, rows of them, dozens, some tall, some short, some new, some weathered, plastic flowers faded by the sun, angels made of stone, toy bears bleached gray by years of dust. Each cross caught the flash of blue-red in the cruiser's lights, each one a memory, each one a warning. And suddenly, my chest tightened. These weren't just markers, they felt like the road was lined with ghosts. Finally, the road straightened. The guardrail disappeared. The canyon walls opened into a wide stretch of desert. GPS chimed, "Continue straight for 23 miles. I exhaled a shaky laugh. Thank God. Then, the lights behind me died instantly. Not dimmed, not faded, just gone. I snapped my head around. The road behind me was empty. The cruiser, gone. Like it had never existed. Like it had never driven behind me at all. My stomach dropped straight through the floorboards. I reached the next gas station still shaken. When I walked inside, the cashier stared at me. "Dude, you look like you just saw a ghost." I let out a breath. "Something like that." "Hey, you ever heard of Devil's Bend?" I asked. "And a trooper named Reed?" The cashier's face drained of color. "Man, no. Please tell me you're not—" "I'm serious. He pulled me over." The cashier swallowed hard. "You talked to him?" "Yeah." "Dude," he whispered. "That's not possible." He pulled out his phone, opened a news article. "State trooper killed in Devil's Bend crash, 2016. Photo of the same man. Same pale gray eyes. Same hat. Same face. Trooper Daniel Reed." The cashier breathed out slowly. "People say he still shows up. Helps drivers who are too tired. Warns them. Leads them through." My fingers tightened around my coffee. "He saved me," I whispered. Walking back to my car, I paused under the gas station lights and looked up at the night sky. "Thanks," I said softly, "for the warning." A chilly breeze brushed past me, and in it, faint, barely audible, a whisper, "Drive carefully." Now, whenever I'm on a lonely highway, whenever my eyes blink too slow, whenever fatigue pulls at me just a little too hard, I remember Devil's Bend, and the trooper whose hand felt like frozen stone, whose name lives on a sign, and who vanished the moment he knew I was safe. Now let's have this second story for today. If you ever decide to drive Nevada State Route 375 at night, do yourself a favor and don't do it alone. I didn't know that rule when I took the job. Back then, it was just a quick delivery run across the desert to make some extra cash before classes started again. Nothing dramatic, just me, my old Ford, and 2 pallets of networking gear in the back, headed to a research facility on the far side of nowhere. My name's Ryan, by the way, 28, grad student in computer science, Uber driver when I have to be, and apparently the kind of guy who says yes when his buddy goes, "Hey man, you want to make $500 just to drop some boxes in the desert tonight?" I left Las Vegas a little after 9 p.m. The city faded fast in my rear view. The neon, the billboards, the constant glow. and the highway narrowed into long, black stretches where your headlights were the only thing standing between you and complete nothingness. For the first hour, it was just me and some late-night truckers. After that, even they peeled off. My GPS cheerfully told me, "Continue straight for 73 miles," which is a special kind of rude in the middle of the desert. I rolled the window down an inch. Dry air slid in, hot, even at night, with that baked dirt smell you only get where the sun tries to kill you all day. The sky, though, the sky was insane. No city light, no haze, just a dome of stars so bright they didn't even look real. It was like driving under a planetarium ceiling set to max. About an hour and a half in, the GPS chimed again. "Take the exit towards State Route 375. I slowed as the highway split off into a smaller, almost apologetic side road. A green sign flashed in my headlights. Extraterrestrial Highway. I'd heard of it, a couple times, in those weird road trip YouTube videos. Route 375, the road that runs near Area 51. Of course it would be that road. Great, I muttered, because that's exactly what I need at midnight, UFO tourism. Still, I took the turn. The asphalt narrowed, the world got even darker, and the last bit of normal civilization dropped away behind me. Out there are no real landmarks, just gently rolling hills, distant mountains, and a whole lot of nothing in between. The road ahead looked like a thin gray scar slicing through endless black desert. Every now and then, I passed one of those long, straight stretches where you can see the road go forever, then curve slightly and vanish into the dark. I flipped the radio from top 40 to some old AM station with too much static, just for company. A guy was talking about political conspiracies, government secrets, that kind of thing. It almost felt like he belonged to the road. About 30 minutes onto 375, I saw the first weird thing. Not aliens, not lights, just a sign. White, metal, sitting crooked by the side of the road. Someone had spray painted across it in big block letters, "They watch the road at night." No explanation, no logo, just that. I gave it this dry little laugh and shook my head. Okay, cool. That's definitely not creepy as hell. Another 20 minutes passed. No cars behind me, none ahead. The road started to feel wrong. Not dangerous exactly, just too quiet. That's when I realized the radio had gone full static. Not normal static, this weird, high-pitched whistling hiss, rising and falling like somebody tuning between stations but never landing on one. I checked the display, still on the same AM channel. I twisted the knob. Nothing. Just that same noise. Finally, I just turned it off. Silence dropped into the car so hard I actually swallowed. It's amazing how loud a quiet car can feel when you're alone on a dark road. You start hearing things, the soft whine of the engine, the tiny buzz of the dashboard lights, the faint whoosh of air moving around the frame. And under all that, I swore I could hear something else. A faint, distant hum. Not from the car, from outside. I tried to ignore it, focused on the yellow center line, the hypnotic rhythm of reflectors flashing through my headlights like slow-motion Morse code. That's when I saw the first light. At first I thought it was another car cresting a hill miles ahead. A tiny white dot just above the horizon. But it didn't move like headlights. It was too high for that, and not quite in line with the road. I told myself it might be a plane. There's a bunch of airspace out there for military training. But it didn't blink like a plane. It just glowed. Steady. Pure white. Over the next minute, the light got brighter. Not closer in the usual sense, just larger, like it was turning up its own brightness knob. It floated above the desert, off to my right, pacing me. I glanced at it, then back at the road. Glanced again. It was still there. Same distance, same height. No sound, no blinking. "Okay," I said quietly. That's new. The hum outside grew louder, subtle, but there. It didn't sound like jet engines or a helicopter. It was too smooth, too clean, like someone holding a single, perfect note on a synthesizer just below where you'd normally hear music. The hair on my arms stood up. I checked the rear view. No one behind me. I checked left. Just empty desert. But on the right, that light hung there, watching, matching my speed. I tried all the rational options first. Aircraft, drone, some kind of tower, reflection from my own headlights. I flicked my high beams off. The light didn't change. I slowed from 65 to 50. The light slowed with me, still ahead and off to the right, always at the same angle. When I sped up again, it matched me. I felt that cold, hollow sensation in my chest, the one where your body realizes something is wrong long before your brain catches up. "Hey, Ryan, relax," I muttered. "You're on the extraterrestrial highway. Of course people see weird lights. It's probably some fence test or a plane or..." The light shot upward. Not gradually, not like a flare, just straight up, like it got yanked by an invisible rope into the sky. It went from hanging over the desert to being a star-level pinprick in less than a second. Then it zipped sideways in a way that did not look like any plane I've ever seen. My brain froze. I didn't even have a word ready. It was like reality glitched. For maybe 10 seconds, nothing happened. Just my headlights, the road, and the echo of that impossible movement replaying in my mind. Then all the electronics in my car died at once. The radio, off. Dashboard, black. Headlights, gone. The engine didn't stall, it cut. 1 second I was cruising through the desert, the next I was coasting silently in pure darkness, the steering wheel suddenly heavy in my hands. No, 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 no! I hit the brake pedal. It went rigid, unresponsive. Power steering? Gone. My truck rolled forward, slowing only because the road tilted slightly upward. Outside, the desert swallowed everything. No moon, no visible horizon, just this massive, smothering dark. For 2 seconds, 3, maybe 4, I could hear my own breathing louder than anything else. Then, slowly, the hum came back. Louder this time. The sky lit up. Not like lightning, not from one point. It was like somebody pulled a thin, glowing sheet across the clouds, except there were no clouds. A pale, bluish light rippled overhead, bright enough to outline the hills and the shapes of distant Joshua trees in brittle silhouette. I slammed my hands tighter around the wheel, heart pounding so hard it felt like it was shaking the cab. My truck coasted to a stop right in the middle of Route 375. No power, no lights, no engine. Just that sound, and that sky, and the sudden feeling that something enormous was leaning over the world to get a closer look. For a crazy second, I thought about getting out, opening the door and just looking up. But every survival instinct I had screamed the opposite. Stay inside, stay small, stay unnoticed. Outside the windshield, the desert glowed in that eerie blue wash. No clear source, no shadows, just a weird, directionless brightness that made everything look flat and wrong, like I'd driven into an underwater world. Then I saw the shape. At first, it was just a darker patch against the sky. Then it moved. A massive outline slid silently over me, blotting out the stars. No running lights, no exhaust, no sound beyond that low hum. It was big, not plane big, not even cargo jet big. It felt city block big, like a black triangle stretched into some impossible geometry over my little truck, hovering there as casually as a bird on a wire. My throat went dry. My fingers dug into the steering wheel so hard they hurt. I couldn't move, couldn't blink, could barely breathe. The hum climbed a little in pitch, and my vision fuzzed at the edges, like static creeping in. For a second, everything inside the cab felt light, weightless. My arms tingled, my legs felt distant, like I was about half an inch to the left of my own body. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The hum cut out. The blue glow faded. The shape above me dissolved into normal night, stars blinking back into existence in random patterns. My engine roared back to life all on its own. Headlights snapped on. Dash lit up. The radio blasted that same talk show host mid-sentence. "And that's why people don't trust the official story." I yelped and turned the volume down so fast I nearly tore the knob off. I sat there in the middle of the highway, truck idling, hands trembling on the wheel. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, that did not just happen." I checked my phone out of pure habit. No signal, expected, but the time made my stomach drop. Before everything went dark, the dash had read 12:17 a.m. Now it said 1:03 a.m. I'd lost 45 minutes, sitting dead center in the road, with no memory of any of it. My brain started doing that rapid-fire denial thing. "You fell asleep, that's all. You nodded off for 45 minutes and dreamed the whole thing." Except my seat position hadn't changed. My foot was still just above the brake pedal. Both hands were welded to the steering wheel in the exact same death grip. If I'd fallen asleep, I should have slumped, moved, something. And I definitely shouldn't have woken up in exactly the middle of my lane like some car commercial. Headlights appeared in my rear view. For a second, my heart lurched. I thought the thing was back. But no, these were actual headlights. A big rig, barreling up behind me. I jerked the wheel and eased onto the shoulder, still shaky, as the truck thundered past to the blast of wind and diesel roar. The driver laid on the horn, this long, angry blare that somehow sounded reassuringly normal. Once he'd passed, I pulled back into the lane, hands still trembling, and forced myself to keep driving. The next half hour felt like 3. Nothing strange happened. No lights, no hum. Just the desert, the road, and my own brain chewing on itself. Eventually, I saw a dull orange glow on the horizon, a light that didn't belong to the sky. My GPS quietly announced, "Approaching Rachel, Nevada." Rachel. Tiny town. Population. Depends who you ask. I'd seen it mentioned in those alien documentaries. UFO Central. Of course, that's where I was heading. The town was basically a scattering of buildings on either side of the road. Some houses, a few trailers, one lonely gas pump that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 90s, and a small diner-motel combo with a sagging sign shaped like a flying saucer. The neon in the sign flickered. Motel Cafe. Underneath, someone had added, "We believe." I pulled in mostly because my hands were shaking too hard not to. The gravel popped under my tires as I rolled to a stop. Inside, the diner was warm and brighter than my eyes were ready for. Formica tables, old posters of desert landscapes, a corkboard full of handwritten UFO sightings pinned under plastic. A few locals sat at the counter with coffee, all of them turning to look when I came in like I was the first new face they'd seen in a week. The woman behind the counter, late 50s, hair pulled into a ponytail, glasses on a chain, gave me a practiced smile. "Coffee?" she asked. "Yeah, please," I said, sliding onto a stool. She poured from a pot that had probably been on since sunset, but I didn't care. Caffeine was caffeine. "You driving 375 tonight?" she asked casually. "Yeah, delivering some gear up the road." She nodded slowly. "From Vegas?" "Yep." "Then you already hit the weird stretch," she said. The way she said it made me stop halfway to my first sip. "What weird stretch?" I asked. She lifted one shoulder. "Depends who you ask. Some people say phones die, radios cut out. You get that hum in your bones. Sometimes folks lose track of time. Sometimes they see lights. Sometimes they don't see nothing but come in here looking like you." I blinked. "Like me?" She smiled slightly. "Yeah, pale, shaky, eyes doing that, should I talk about it or pretend it was just the wind thing?" One of the guys at the counter, a bearded trucker in a denim jacket, snorted over his mug. "Kid looks like he saw the big one," he said. "You get buzzed?" I hesitated. "Buzzed?" He made a little spinning motion with his finger. Lights over the cab, engine dies, clock jumps ahead, feels like your teeth are vibrating. My grip tightened around the mug. "Maybe," I said. The woman behind the counter, her name tag said Linda, watched me with this mix of sympathy and curiosity. "Let me guess," she said. "White light, real bright, real smooth, doesn't blink, hangs out off to the right side of the road for a while." My mouth went dry. "Yeah," I whispered. "How'd you—" "Been out here a long time," she said. "You hear stories, see a few things yourself." "Observe." Truck guy chimed in. "First time I saw it, I was coming from Tonopah," he said. "Light pulls up alongside my rig like it's on an invisible overpass. Paces me for about 10 miles. Then," he snapped his fingers. "Straight up, gone, engine cuts. Wake up half an hour later, still in my lane. Tax says I never stopped rolling." He took another sip. "Boss thought I was making excuses for driving slow. I showed him the log. Didn't say a word after that." I stared at him, at Linda, at the UFO pins on the corkboard. What is it?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. "Government test thing," one guy said. "Experimental aircraft," another muttered. "Visitors," someone at the far table added. Linda just shrugged. "We don't pretend to know," she said. "We just know it likes that stretch of road." She nodded toward the window, where the black line of Route 375 cut between lonely streetlights. "Some folks call it the shadow strip," she said, "on account of what people see in the road sometimes." I frowned. "What do you mean, what they see?" She hesitated, like she was picking between telling me the truth and letting me sleep tonight. "Sometimes it's just the light," she said. "But sometimes people talk about shapes, in the beams. Shadows that don't belong to anything, walking in front of the car, keeping pace along the shoulder, watching from the middle of the lane." She looked at my hands. "You see any shadows, hun?" I wanted to say no, lie, laugh it off, but as soon as she asked, something ugly crept back into my memory. There had been a split second when the sky went blue and the hum got louder, when I could have sworn I saw something move at the edge of my headlights. Something tall, too tall, walking along the white line like it owned the road. My skin prickled. I swallowed. "Maybe," I said quietly. Linda studied me for another second, then poured more coffee into my cup. "Well, you're here," she said, "which means whatever it was, it let you go. That's more than some people get." Truck guy muttered, "Don't say that part," into his mug. She ignored him. "If you're smart," she said, "you'll stay the night. We got rooms in the back, cheap too." I glanced at my watch, at the GPS on my phone. I still had another hour and a half of driving to reach the facility and drop the gear before morning. The extra 500 depended on me not being late. "I can't," I said. "They're expecting the delivery. I already lost time out there." She frowned. "You already lost time," she repeated. "And you still want to go back out on that highway tonight?" Her tone made it sound like I was voluntarily stepping into a lion cage. But stubbornness is a stupid kind of courage. I needed the money. I needed the job to go well. And honestly, a part of me wanted to prove to myself that it had all just been some glitch, or a panic attack, or anything normal. "I'll be fine," I said. "I'll take it slow." Linda sighed. "Then do yourself one favor," she said. "If the lights show up again, don't stop. Don't stare. Don't try to film them. Keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. And if you see anything in your headlights that looks like a shadow walking toward you," she hesitated, "drive through it. Don't brake. Don't swerve. Just drive." That sat heavy in my brain as I paid, thanked her, and walked back out into the night. The desert air slapped me again, cooler now, with that after-midnight chill rolling in. My truck looked small and lonely under the yellow parking lot light. Beyond it, the rest of Route 375 stretched off into a blackness that suddenly felt personal. I climbed in, shut the door, and just sat there for a second, hands resting on the wheel, breathing slow. Drop the boxes, I told myself. Sign the papers. Come back. That's it. The first few miles out of Rachel were uneventful. The road felt narrower somehow, but that might have just been my nerves. I kept my speed around 50, eyes flicking from the asphalt to the mirrors to the horizon line. No hum, no lights. After about 20 minutes, I passed a long, straight stretch lined with low hills and scrub. The kind of place where you can see in every direction and there is nothing, and you still feel watched. The stars were dimmer now. Thin clouds had crept in, or maybe that same weird haze from before. The sky looked smeared. I rounded a gentle curve, and that's when I saw it. Not in the sky this time, on the road. Far ahead, maybe a quarter mile, something stood right on the center line. A dark shape, tall. At first I thought it was a signpost, or one of those reflector markers. But as my headlights washed further down the stretch, the shape didn't stay still. It moved. One slow step, then another, walking straight down the middle of Route 375, toward me. My foot eased off the gas on instinct. The truck slowed from 50 to 40 to 35. The shape kept coming. No hurry, no hesitation. It wasn't quite human, wasn't quite not either. Too tall, too thin, arms a little too long, hanging just a bit too low. The head seemed featureless in the glare. No visible face, just a smooth outline. Every part of my brain screamed, "Person in the road," but my body disagreed. Icelinda's words ran through my head on repeat. If you see anything in your headlights that looks like a shadow walking toward you, drive through it. I tightened my grip on the wheel. 30 miles per hour. The shadow figure kept walking. 28, 25. It was close enough now that I could see its edges flicker slightly, like it wasn't entirely solid. The air in the cab felt heavier, thicker. Every breath came with effort. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, okay." The rational part of me tried to frame it as a regular person, maybe some lost hiker, some drunk, some idiot messing with drivers. But the deeper animal part of me knew better. People don't move like that. People don't make the air feel wrong. The distance closed fast. 100 yards, 80, 50. My instincts screamed at me to brake, to stop, to swerve. Every driver reflex I'd ever learned shouted, "You do not hit people." But Linda's warning was louder. "Don't brake, don't swerve, just drive." At 30 miles an hour, I locked my eyes dead center on the road, knuckles white, jaw clenched. "Don't be real," I said through my teeth. "Don't be real, don't be real, don't be—" The figure hit the edge of my high beams. For one horrifying second, it was perfectly framed. Tall, limbs too long. No face, just a hollow, dark impression where eyes and mouth should have been. Its head tilted, as if noticing me for the very first time. Then it lunged. Not sideways, not away, toward the truck. I had just enough time to gasp, and then it was right there, on top of the hood, filling the windshield. Except, it wasn't. I didn't feel an impact, no crunch, no thud. The darkness of its form poured over the hood like liquid shadow, washing across the glass in a smear of black. For a split second, everything outside the cab went completely dark. No road, no desert, no sky, just black. My heart stopped. My brain blanked. Then the truck burst through it, like driving out of a tunnel. The road snapped back into view behind the windshield. Stars overhead, desert on either side. In the rearview mirror, the lane behind me was empty. No broken body, no shadows, nothing. The hum returned. This time it came from everywhere at once, vibrating through the steering wheel, the seat, the bones in my arms. The sky above the road rippled with that same faint blue glow, but not as bright as before. More distant, like whatever had been close earlier was now further away, watching from above. The lights didn't show themselves this round, but the feeling of being observed was intense enough to make my teeth ache. My truck's clock ticked forward at a normal pace, second by second. But something about the way the mile markers passed felt off. I'd check the odometer, drive a while, check again. Sometimes it felt like I'd gone a mile in 30 seconds. Sometimes it felt like 20 minutes had passed, and the numbers hadn't changed at all. Time felt elastic. At some point, the hum faded. The sky darkened back into regular night. I realized my shoulders hurt from being hunched up around my ears. My jaw ached from clenching. Gradually, the road dipped toward a cluster of distant lights, the facility I was supposed to deliver to. A fenced compound, a couple of blocky buildings, one big satellite dish pointed at the sky like it was listening for something. Figures. Of course it would be here. I pulled up to the gate, rolled down my window, and handed over the paperwork to a bored-looking security guard in a parka. "You're late," he said, glancing at my manifest. "Sorry," I said. "Weird stuff on 375. He looked up. "Lights?" "Yeah," he sighed. "You and everybody else." He scribbled something on the form and waved me through. Unloading took about 40 minutes. Guys in branded hoodies wheeled the crates onto loading docks, signed forms, barely looked at me. The whole time, I kept glancing at the sky, half expecting that white light to appear again. Nothing. Just stars. Just quiet. On the way out, the security guard handed me back my ID and gave me this knowing look. "Word of advice," he said. "On your way back, don't stop for anything in the road. Out here, if it wants you to stop, it's not good news." "Yeah," I said weakly. "I got that memo." The drive back toward Rachel was calmer. Or maybe I was just too drained to be scared anymore. No blue glows, no engine failures, no shadow people walking the center line. By the time I saw the faint glow of the diner's sign again, the sky was turning that lighter shade of black that hints at dawn. I pulled in, parked, and just sat there for a minute, the way people do after a crash they almost had. Inside, Linda was still on shift. Either she'd never gone home, or time moves differently at desert diners. She took one look at my face and poured a coffee without asking. "Well," she said, "looks like you made it." "Yeah," I said, voice rough. I saw something." "Lights?" "And shadows," I added quietly. That made her pause. "First trip out?" she asked. "Yeah." "You planning on making this run again?" I thought about the money, the extra 500, the way my hands still shook. "I don't know," I said. "That's the right answer," truck guy muttered from his usual stool. I sat there for a while, nursing coffee that tasted like burnt survival, listening to the low hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the building settling. When I finally got up to leave, Linda called after me. "Hey, Ryan?" "Yeah?" She nodded toward the road. "You remember what I said? If the highway ever calls you back, you keep your eyes forward. Don't chase the lights. Don't follow the shadows. Let them do whatever they're doing. You just drive." On the way back to Vegas, the sun finally started to creep over the horizon, painting the desert in pale orange and pink. In that light, Route 375 looked harmless. Just another lonely road in the middle of nowhere. But every time I blinked, I could still see that shape in my headlights. Tall, wrong, tilting its head at me like I was some interesting bug it had never seen before. Every time a distant plane's lights flashed across the sky, my heart bumped a little harder. Every time the radio hissed for half a second between stations, I braced for the hum to return. It's been months since that night. I finished the semester, went back to coding, debugging, regular human problems. But sometimes, when I'm driving home late from campus, I'll catch a glimpse of something in my peripheral vision, a light that isn't there when I look directly at it, a shape at the edge of the road that disappears when my headlights hit it. And once in a while, the clock on my dash will jump forward a minute. Just one. Just enough to make me wonder. I told myself I'd never drive that highway again. But the weird thing is, part of me feels like I left something out there. Like Route 375 isn't just a road, it's a border. And one night, when the stars are bright and the hum comes back, whatever was watching me might decide it's time to finish whatever it started. If you made it this far into the dark, thank you. If these highway encounters gave you even a little chill, make sure to subscribe, like, and share, because next time, we're diving into 2 more terrifying road stories. Until then, stay safe out there.